Welcome, welcome, welcome. Please let us know where you're from in the chat. We are so excited that you are here. I am Michelle Talbert. That's Pompey Mansilla.
Good morning, everyone. Was that say again?
Welcome, welcome. Please let us know in the chat, where are you joining us from? Greetings from New York. Tara, what part of New York are you in? Rochester, yes, nice. Okay, where are folks joining us from? Pompey, where are you joining us from?
I am in Fort Lauderdale.
Good stuff. As am I.
Rather be in Florida.
You'd rather be in Florida, I understand. Westland, Michigan. Hi, Cheryl.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi. I had trouble getting in, so sorry I'm late.
No. We had a little tech issue and I tried to send a message to all of you in the waiting room and unfortunately went to the chat instead of the waiting room. So It's one of those days, but we're going to make it do what we needed to do for today. We are so happy you are here. We're going to get started because we're already 8 minutes past 10:30. So please continue to drop in the chat where you're joining us from. We are excited that you are here. For those of you who are not familiar with me, my name is Michelle Talbert. I am a relationship marketing strategist, as well as the founder of Her Power Moves, a community of women solopreneurs and side hustlers mainly. So women who are doctors and professors, and then also sell purses and do, career coaching and things of that nature. Any side hustlers in the room? Any folks who, work on their day job 9 to 5 and then work on their daydreams 5 to midnight, right? And then also I am the founder of the first Black woman-owned co-working space here in Broward County, where the gentleman to my left, who will be introducing himself shortly, and I are seated right now. This is Her Power Space. Yes, side hustle is the new day job. I totally get that, Tara, totally. And if it's Tara, please let me know if I'm saying it incorrectly. And so we wanted to come to meet you today. I don't know how many of you have attended one of my talks. I wanted to be sure that we continue the conversation that I tend to start in my presentations about building your trifecta tribe of mentors, mentees, and peers. So for those of you who are joining, drop a 1 in the chat if you're an entrepreneur, and drop a 2 in the chat if you are in corporate America and or work for the government or some other sort of day job, university, things of that nature. So 1 if you're an entrepreneur, 2 if you work in the corporate sphere, and 3 if you do all of the above. We'd love to know who we're talking to. Okay, so I see some entrepreneurs are coming in. I love it. I love it. And so I am a recovering attorney. I try not to practice corporate law as much as possible. Tara and I are on the same page. Exactly. Recovered from corporate. I love it. So today we are talking about mentorship. We're going to talk a little bit about sales, and we're also going to talk about what you want to hear about. So to kick us off, I'm going to mute myself and ask the gentleman, Mr. Mansilla, to introduce himself a bit, and then I'm going to tell you a little story about us.
Good morning, everyone. Hopefully everyone is enjoying this day and as most in a lot of health, right? That's what we're really thankful for today and every day during these trying times. So thank you for joining us. My name is Pompey Mansilla. I am in logistics. I have been in logistics since the 1970s, back when it was called freight. Right now, our company, International Logistics Solutions, is concentrating on saving money for e-tailers. So any online retailers that have a significant amount of business going on a daily basis, our company concentrates on saving them money while accelerating their transit times to their consumer base, right? So it's a direct to consumer. The people that we deal with, the companies that we deal with are basically direct to consumer as e-tailers. Hopefully that's a good enough explication.
So as you see, we are definitely not in the same industry whatsoever. Pompey and I met, we think it's 2, it might be 3 because last year it just kind of collapsed on itself. Pompey and I met about 2 or 3 years ago at a networking event here in Fort Lauderdale. It was a cocktail hour of professionals and entrepreneurs, and we struck up a chat. And we started talking about sort of our take on networking and creating relationships. And at the time, he was actually a member of this particular organization, and he can talk a bit about that. We're going to chat a little bit about finding your niche and where you should be to make the types of connections that you want to make. And so I was talking to him about sort of actively networking and what does that look like? And then he said, let's go to lunch. And it's been history ever since. We go to lunch. We used to go to breakfast and brunch and things of that nature just every few months to kind of catch up. Nothing formal. We chat about life. We're both grandparents now. He's newer grandparent than I am. And we talk about business, life. And how long have you been in business, Pompey?
I've actually been in business since 2005. And so we started off as a custom house broker, freight forwarder, what's called an NVOCC. So basically on the international side of freight forwarding. And then we have morphed into several different companies throughout the years. Some of them asset-based, where we actually make pickups and deliveries, and others not asset-based, where we arrange for those pickup and deliveries through third parties.
And so, you know, he's been in business a long time. And while I don't believe in picking your brain, he did allow me to pick his brain quite a bit. And when I decided to open the co-working space, I brought him here to see it while it was under construction, and just have over time chatted with him about life, business, and all of that. And then obviously we had COVID hit. I opened my space in January of 2020 and had to lock the doors officially on March 31st, 2020. Needless to say, it was not an easy period. And we stayed in touch. We talked about business here and there, obviously safety and family and all of those pieces. And as we sort of started to turn a corner toward the end of 2020, I looked at him one day and said, Pompey, will you be my sales mentor? You remember what your answer was to that?
I believe, well, the answer was yes, obviously, but I believe it had something to do with, I don't know how much value you're going to get from me.
And what's interesting about that, right? Now, does that sound surprising to anyone that he would say, after having almost 20 years in entrepreneurship, business, in various sectors of business development, that he would say, I don't know how much value I have to offer? And I told him, look, you might not know co-working, but you know sales. And exactly, of course, there's value, Tara said, right? And so he's helped me to become break even, profitable. We're figuring out systems. We're figuring out next steps. He's really helped me personally in my business to change my perspective about the way, excuse me, I look at business. And so I think that there's a lot of value from relationships, and you don't know where that next person who adds value to you will be, but remain open to the possibilities. So before we get into our chat, I have a couple of questions that I put together for Pompey, as well as I hope you will all ask your own questions as well. You'll see that I put a link in the chat for a What's in It for Me worksheet that I always share whenever I am doing presentations. You can take notes right on the screen or print it out and write in your notes. as we are going along, and use it over and over and over again whenever you are taking precious time and or money from your day to learn or connect or grow. Okay, so Pompey, do you have a philosophy around forging connections?
I think that was a phone call coming in where I should have turned my phone off, so I apologize for that. Well, you know, I have throughout the years, I guess the philosophy behind it is that I try things that are within the box and things that are outside the box, right? So the philosophy is, and I'll tell you one thing that I've said to many, many people throughout the years, and some people might find this a waste of time, but it has worked for me. I never turn down a meeting. I don't care if it's somebody who's sweeping, you know, the floor at a particular business that I walk into, and he asked me to meet with him. I never turn down a meeting. I guess that's my philosophy. I never really thought about it till right now, but that's it.
So I was dropping a link in the chat just to say, please be sure to drop your questions in the chat, and we'll also have a Q&A so you can raise your hand and ask questions as well. So as an extension of that, with regard to not turning down meetings, no matter who it is, what are your thoughts on mentorship? Sort of how have you sought mentors, and have you actively sought mentors as you've been developing your own business?
No, I was really lucky when I started my business. I actually came into an existing business. I was calling on this gentleman as a salesman, and he said to me, "Look, I've had this business for, you know, a few months now. You've always been my most reliable salesperson. Okay, I'd like for you to head up this company from a sales standpoint. I'll do the operations, I'll do the finance, you do the sales." And after taking a look at the business model, I decided to go ahead with it. Now, where I got lucky was the amount of business knowledge. Even though he was younger than me, he had been in business on his own for a much longer time. So I really leaned on him for a lot of the knowledge that I've picked up as an entrepreneur during the last 17 years. But that is I found it a little odd when you, Michelle, asked me to be your mentor, because I think that that's where I missed the boat earlier on. I think that if I would have gone out and really looked for a mentor and then had the wherewithal, the wisdom to ask for a mentorship, I would have been way farther ahead of schedule.
Oh, I really like that you say that. So that means he learned something from me, which we're going to talk about, because what I get faced with a lot is folks who are seeking mentors give me pushback when I say what you want to do is forge mutually beneficial, ethical relationships. And so people who are seeking mentors often say, I have no value to add to somebody who's been in business 20 years. What can I do? I'm just starting my business. I don't have any value, right? So Pompey, have you gotten value from, and this is not me trying to plug myself, although I'm looking forward to hearing his answer. But, you know, seriously speaking, have you gotten value from me? Because I left corporate in 2012. And so did e-commerce until opening this brick and mortar in January of 2020.
Yes, I've gotten, I'll tell you one thing that I've gotten from you, Michelle. You know, as you have a startup business, you struggle, okay? And I did that. I also found out that 10 years into it, and up to 1,200 employees in a $70 million company, that the fight is never over, right? So when I looked at Michelle and saw you know, the challenges that she was facing, they never stop. Like, you know, as an entrepreneur, if it's 10, 15 years down the road, I'm going to say that Mr. Bezos, you know, the challenges never stop. They might even become bigger. So I guess what I'm saying is, don't ever think or make the mistake that a lot of us make, that just because you've been in business now 5 years and you're up to $5 or $10 million or whatever that number might be, that the challenges stop and you have reached the zenith, right? It's never quite within reach. You might live better, you might be less financially stressed, but the challenges may even be bigger in certain instances. So I think that's what I've learned from you, Michelle.
Thank you. And so I asked you to be my sales mentor, which is very specific, right? And full disclosure, this is actually falling right after our regularly scheduled monthly meetings here at her Power Space. Pompey takes time out of his morning, one day a month, to come in and sit down with me, talk about my business, talk about sort of challenges I might be facing, wins I may have had, to which he usually replies, "Congratulations, now put your blinders back on." And then we go forward. So we met this morning and we actually brought someone else in to talk with us about a part of the conversation. And one of the things that I heard Pompey say was, "I don't market, I do sales." And I love marketing, right? Let's talk about the distinction between marketing and sales, because so many of us focus on the marketing. And I often say, you know, marketing and sales are very different.
I guess I've looked at sales and marketing when I was younger as one and the same, and it's not true whatsoever. I started out in sales actually in New York Metro, going door to door and talking to shippers. I mean, I've been to the Empire State Building, I don't know, 150 times, and I've never been to the top of it because I've always been working the building. I wasn't there for fun. So sales to me is actually going out, and I'll make a distinction here, right? I have had friends and or acquaintances over the years that tell me they're in sales, all right? And I say, "What do you do?" And they say, "Well, you know, I'm in a Mercedes dealership and I sell cars." And I say to them, "Okay, well, that is sales, right?" And not to belittle that sales effort, right? A lot of people make a lot of money selling Mercedes. But I think the sales that I'm talking about is an even rougher stretch, right? If I'm sitting at a Mercedes dealership and somebody comes in, they're already interested in selling a Mercedes. You have to qualify them, you have to go through all the steps and so forth, but they're already interested. When you're knocking door to door, you're actually speaking to people who want nothing to do with you, right? You got a gatekeeper, and then you got to get past that. You have to form a relationship there. You have to get past that gatekeeper. You have to actually call or text or send a postcard. You have to do that 5, 6, 7 times before they start feeling some familiarity with you, and they start feeling like you have something of value that you're going to provide to that particular company. So I guess what I'm saying is that what used to be called canvassing, and what so many people are afraid of today, because they want to be either on the phone or they want to market their product, right? And in a lot of cases that works. In my industry, in the logistics industry, there's a lot of personal relationships and trust involved with that. So we have found that that sales will give us the results that we want, where we can measure it, right? In marketing, you can't say to yourself, "Okay, well, I spent $30,000 on marketing, and this is what it's done to me." Although nowadays with the online retail stores, it is a fact that if you spend more on marketing, you get more business, right? Digital marketing. However, you can't really quantify and say, for every sales call that I made or for every dollar, it's very hard to quantify the marketing side as opposed to the sales side. Hope I wasn't too long-winded in that, and I gave you the answer that you wanted.
So the quote and that was the answer. There was no answer I wanted, just whatever you thought, which he typically always gives me what his opinion is. The quote that I've heard that was one of the best quotes, I think, to distinguish between marketing and sales, because I used to think they were one and the same. And I'm marketing and marketing and marketing and marketing and looking at the bank account dwindle. And I'm like, why is it dwindling? I'm doing all this marketing. People are clicking. People are saying hi. People are liking and sharing and saving, right? My posts. Marketing gets you leads. Sales gets you paid. That is the distinction. And what I love about working with Pompey is that he's like, marketing's marketing. Like, yeah, I have a team to do that kind of thing, or I have folks who know more than I do there, but I'm the sales guy, right? And I have the sales team, and that matters because that's how you make payroll. That's how you keep the lights on. That's how you're able to have the lifestyle or any of the other things that made you go into business in the first place. Do you have any other thoughts on?
The only other thought I have is that, we actually decided whether we wanted to go and spend the money with a marketing company or spend the money with an outreach company, right? So there's more and more of these outreach companies that do they do the legwork for you, but they know how to do it automated, right? They know how to set up and I'm not talking about, I'm not just talking about what you do with Constant Contact, where it's a drip email campaign, but they actually are able to automate anything from LinkedIn to the email campaigns, the drip email campaigns, and many other social media strategies. Okay, so what we did was we went out and got an outreach company, and basically what he does is he brings us, 2 or 3 leads a month, which is well worth it. And out of those, we're able to close maybe 1 or 2 of them. So we found, again, that outreach with our sales support, where we actually do the closing. Okay, so our leaders in the sales department will do the closing while this gentleman does the outreach for us. And that's worked out very well for us.
How do you define well worth it? What's that metric?
The spend is substantial, okay? However, in our field, what we're doing right now in our niche, we're paying them $40,000 a year for the outreach. But if we close 1 account, that'll pay for the whole year for him. All right, so I guess that's all we need to do is close 1 account a year. And we've got that covered.
I make the distinction about sales mentor, that Pompey is my sales mentor. Of course, he's always been sort of my informal business mentor, but we got very, very clear and specific about him being my sales mentor. From your perspective, before I share my perspective specifically, why is it, what do you think that distinction may be in terms of what do you see your role as a sales mentor, and specifically my sales mentor?
I think sales is about, especially here in Florida, is about grind and sweat and getting in and out of the car and knocking on some very uncomfortable doors. Walking up the doors. I was just in Orlando with one of our sales guys, and there wasn't. We probably made 40 calls over a 3-day period, and they were all cold calls, and there wasn't one that said soliciting is okay here. Okay, all of them said no soliciting, and so it's more of a I guess the message that I tried to give you, Michelle, is that sales is a grind, and it's not meant for everyone. And if you're strong in operations and you're lucky enough to find somebody that's dependable and trustworthy in sales, you should head in that direction. I'll say one thing that has nothing to do with the question that you asked, Michelle. One thing that I have found is that as an owner, you can be operations and sales, okay? But a mistake that I've made on a couple of occasions during the last 17 years is to have a person who's got a great personality, they're in operations, have them be a salesman. And I'll give you a perfect example. I remember this lady, Lenore. She was a salesman Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and she was in our operations Tuesday, Thursday, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and the following week could be Tuesday, Thursday in sales. Doesn't work. I've tried it with 3 or 4 different individuals. It just doesn't work. If you're going to be in operations, and I'm talking once you get past, you're the lone cowboy. Okay, you're the only one that's promoting your service or your product. So once you start growing, I would suggest not to make that mistake of trying to get somebody to be a salesman on some days and an operations person in other days, because what you end up is you can't hold them accountable for their operations nor their sales.
And please, I've been dropping it in the chat. Please raise your hand. We'd love to hear from you. If you have questions, let us know also in the chat. Is this helpful to you? You can feel free to ask questions by raising your hand and speaking, or if you'd like me to ask the questions, you can put that in the chat as well. We are really excited that you're here, but the goal for me today was to share my mentor with you. So I would love to hear from your perspective. Very helpful hearing learnings and mistakes. Great, great. Thank you, Tara. So please be sure to drop your questions in the chat. You said it's a grind, right? But you are one of the most optimistic people that I've ever met in business and life. So let's chat about your optimism, your eternal optimism when it comes to business and pandemics and life and just all of that.
You know, I don't know if it's just an inherent thing. I remember my mom telling me a long time ago that when I came out, I didn't cry, I laughed, right? So, and through the years, you know, I have taught myself to the little things, okay? The getting up in the morning and you know, I have it in my alarm in the morning at 4 o'clock when I wake up every morning, my alarm. It's not the song that it sings, it's the name of my alarm. And the name of the alarm at 4 o'clock in the morning is God bless this day, right? And I'm not necessarily a religious person or anything like that. You know, I consider myself a bit spiritual. I'm not really religious, but when I wake up and I put my feet down on the ground and I say, thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, not to anyone in particular. I'm not saying God, although sometimes I do. But it's just a state of mind that you have to continue to build. I think it's an art to be able to build that. And you use little tricks. For instance, it could be 95 degrees with 97% humidity in Miami. And I no longer make sales calls on an everyday basis, only when I'm on business trips. But I remember 95 degrees, 97% humidity. It's raining, it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm tired and I'm walking from my car to that lobby and I'm whistling. And I'm whistling for a reason, right? I'm whistling so that it's internal, okay? But I'm also whistling all the way into the lobby so that when that gatekeeper sees me coming in, sometimes drenched, okay? She's got a better impression of me than the last person who came in to her lobby and it's just, you know, grinding their way through it and you can see it in their face. So the grind is great, but don't show it, is what I would say.
And if anyone has any thoughts about also anything that Pompey says, please drop them in the chat or again, raise your hand. We have a couple of questions that came in. Now you see why I wanted to share him with you guys, all right? What determines this is from Cheryl. What determines the point in your business when you should hire a sales rep and if it is profitable? Great question.
Cheryl, that is a fantastic question. The problem, and I'm going to be very general here, so please don't beat me up on this. The problem with salespeople is that they're lazy, okay? And when I say that, I mean the salesperson that's out on the road. And maybe I should take that word back and not say lazy. They get beat up.
Yeah, man.
I mean, you're out there and you get your rejection time after time after time. You're going to get beat up, and so, you know, I found that if you, Cheryl, if it's somebody in the office that's making sales calls and you're able to find tools and set up KPIs, you're in a much better position than hiring somebody who's going to go out on the road for you. Okay. I'll give you, for instance, during this last company that we built, International Logistics Solutions, at the onset, we got lucky with we went to recruiting events at FSU, Florida State University, sorry for those who don't know, UCF, University of Central Florida, and FIU, Florida International University. And we got so lucky with the individuals that we picked up earlier on, right? So for the first 3 years, we found people that were like-minded, that had a very strong work ethic, that were bringing in plenty of business, that wanted to go from, at that time, 17 years ago, we're starting them at 35,000. They wanted to go from 35,000 to $100,000 a year in commission within 3 to 4 years, and we were happy to bring them on board and grow the business. And then we went on a streak that you would not believe. We had probably the next 40 salespeople that we hired, only 2 of them worked out. So it's a real, guessing game. We're in a position, luckily, right now where we're able to go out and get a headhunter who's going to put together who have put together a personality profile. And so, and we can pay for somebody to bring a book of business in, Cheryl. So, just be very careful not to hire somebody from the outside. I'm sorry, that's going to be working outside. I would suggest if you can find somebody that is on the inside with you, and you're able to coach, and you're able to build up hopefully a younger person, you're able to build up their skills, and then let them go out, little by little to appointments only. And then you go out with them whenever you can. I think you have a lot more success than hiring someone, training them, and letting them loose out on the road. And when to do that, Cheryl, that's $1 million question. That's really secret sauce that I don't know if anybody has figured it out.
Quick follow on to that. When you hire, do you hire for skills or do you hire for strength, personality? How do you look at that?
I hire for personality and strength. I hire I think that, salespeople are born, right? They're not made, I don't think. I would imagine that there's exception to that rule, but I think that, I've talked to enough people throughout my life where they look like salespeople to me, and I try to convince them to come to work for me, and they end up being in operations. So I think it's something that you're actually born with.
What does a salesperson look like to you?
You
see? Exactly.
Wow.
Intangible thing.
This is, I'll say this. I'll say that what a salesperson used to look like, right, was somebody that was attractive to the eye, right, and can think quickly on their feet. I think that's changed. I was just speaking to someone about this a couple of weeks ago. I think that salespeople can look like anyone. They don't have to look a particular way, but they have to be great. They have to be great at presentations, at presenting that option that you're giving that particular customer, right? So they have to sound very honest. They have to be credible source, and they have to know how to make a good presentation. I don't think that those physical attributes are quite as important as they used to be at one time.
Good. So please talk, this is from Tara. Please talk about selling yourself as a consultant versus selling a product. And what I'll say to that is that, I don't know, a couple of months back, we put together a sales strategy for me. So that lazy thing where I covered my eyes was a direct hit to me. So we put together a particular strategy that involved cold calling. So I had my VA put together a particular list and I started calling people and, you know, we set a target. Now, two things. One, Pompey was like, Michelle, I don't know how you're going to do the rest of this, the operations, and be effective at this cold call strategy. Right. But this is a point where if you're in business, wherever you are along the journey, and it gets to the point where you're like, I have to try something different. Right. And so this was that different thing that we came up with. And I started making calls and I would message him and say, OK, I got some calls, I got some no's, I got some leads. And I did not follow up on the leads because I got wrapped up in the operations again. Right. So I am a small business. And so a lot of what Pompey talks about is kind of like that enterprise level thinking, but that thinking applies in our sphere. We just have to figure out how to sort of walk through those steps and incorporate it into how we do our day-to-day business. So consultant versus a product, do you have thoughts on that, Pompey?
And so I'm assuming,
Tara asked that.
Tara, can you unmute her and so I can find out a little more about what she wants to.
If she's okay with that.
Tara, are you willing to speak?
Yes. Hi. Good morning. And thank you for sharing your wisdom is what
Tara?
I'll call it. Can you hear me?
Oh, okay.
There she is.
Can you hear me? Yes.
So repeat the question again, because I'm a little lost with the question.
Sure. It's just, it's about helping a business meet
Tara,
one
I
of the...
see that you're off mute and I see that the yellow, do you hear? Oh, hold on. Nope, that's on me. Hold on one second. Okay, go now.
Hello? You can hear me.
Gotcha.
Okay. It's the question is really, being a business consultant and offering abilities that you've used while running a business for somebody else. And, again, it goes back to people are not necessarily at a place where they can afford, to pay the rate that you might be charging, but you're trying to work with them to help them solve a need and you're selling your ability to do so. So, maybe I'm answering my own question, but I mean, you can come up with, how would I measure my value to that person? But it's getting them to the point where they say, yes, to work with you creatively so that you can help them either grow their existing business or perhaps a new startup, and how to sell yourself versus a different service or product. So it's really you as the product or service, as the consultant.
I would say, I said before that I had this conversation, I forgot what we were talking about before, but I just had this conversation not too long ago because I have never been big on consultants coming in and I don't mean this in a bad way, but coming in and telling me how to run my business or how to run a sales department or so forth. I've never been very big on that. However, our company's actually strategizing on how to be a consultant to e-tailers, right? Online retail stores. And we've come to the conclusion that the only way we're not going to be able, I'm only speaking about us in particular. We're not going to be able to go in and say to someone, I need $40,000 next year in order for me to go out and sell for you. All right. So the approach that we're going to take is we know a lot about e-tailers. We know a lot about providing that freight transportation for e-tailers. So why don't we and this will probably happen in 2022 or 2023, we should morph into a company that goes in and rather than say, I am going to save you this much money, 15, 20%, whatever, that's the typical line that you want to say to someone, Geico it, I'm going to save you 15%, right? Rather than doing it that way, enter into a more open approach. And what I mean by that is, look, these are the vendors, these are the prices from the vendors. Here it is, you can see them. We can verify those prices with the vendors later on in the sales process. Okay, show me what you're paying, all right? And then whatever I save for you on a yearly basis, give me 30% of that over a 3-year period. And then I'm a true partner of yours. I'm not making money off a service that I'm selling to you. I'm actually going to look at your information, and then I'm going to go find out and be transparent with you, show you what this particular company charges, and let's share in some of that revenue. Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely. It's really a negotiation on, how you can help them. And also, it's based on a performance metric right off the bat. Whether it's saving money or making money, there's money on one or both sides of the equation that you basically would commit to. And that's probably part of the conversation, finding out what they need. And, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Tara. Gone with the wind, Tara, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I had her on mute. So we're in the exact same space, because if I tried to trust Pompey to get on Zoom by himself, we may or may not have had him with us. We almost didn't have either of us here today, right? So, for those of you in the room who are watching, you're still here. We'd love to hear from you. I did have some questions. I'm happy to chat with Pompey, but really this is an opportunity for you to ask questions where you are along your journey. So maybe even just share with us, for those of you who said you were entrepreneurs, and for those of you who joined after we said, entrepreneurs, corporate, side hustlers, solopreneurs, etc. Feel free to drop in the chat or raise your hand to ask a question and let us know where you are in your business journey. In fact, the real question is, what's your intention? What brought you here today? I would love I'm asking everybody, anybody who is in a position to either drop an answer in the chat or to raise your hand and come off mute. We would love to hear what brought you here today. And I'll start with Pompey. What brought you here today?
Mine is a simple answer. I coached, my son's 34 years old. I coached him in baseball, soccer, football, and basketball. If I had the right order, is basketball first, by the way. So I coached him in those 4 sports. And while I was doing that, I found a lot of gratification in assisting someone's or accelerating someone's learning curve. So that's why I'm here today. That's really what has driven me to accept your invitation to become your mentor, hence ending up here today.
So thank you. Thank you, Tara. Said to gather insights. Anyone else want to share what brought you here today, value that you hope to take away? It's really important that we have intention, especially when we give our time and attention. Attention is the new currency, right? Well, sort of. We still got to pay the bills. We just talked about that as well. So we still need the currency, the kind of folds and you can put in your wallet. But we also need the kind of currency that is attention. And we want to know in terms of holding your attention. And so I'm going to go to Cheryl, and then I'm going to go to Stacy. Thank you so much. Hi, hi, Cheryl.
Hi, Michelle. Thank you for having us today. Okay, so I am brand new to sales of any type like this. I'm starting a business. Thank you. And I'm currently working for a manufacturer of hair extensions out of India. So I am his only US distributor. And currently I'm taking orders, packaging, and shipping to his current customers, because he has already been established around the world, but trying to grow the business in the US. And obviously being able to ship to them in a more timely manner will enhance his business sales here. But so currently I get paid to distribute, but I want to grow the sales portion so that I can start to earn a commission on the sales in the US. And it's so big, it could be so big, but I don't know where to start with the sales part of it. So I'm here to learn.
Okay, so you want to, all right, so I used to deliver 12%, or I shouldn't say a company, not International Logistics Solutions, another company that I had that is no longer, that we decided to get away from. Our job was to deliver, you know, DHL Express. They're actually, you know, people talk about FedEx and UPS in the United States as if they're the giants of the industry. That's not true. DHL Express worldwide is the biggest logistics company, okay? And they specialize in express parcel. And express parcel just means that it's, you know, typically 1 ounce to 10 pounds, can fit in a shoebox, and can deliver anywhere in the world in 2 to 5 days, okay? One overnight to 5 days, okay? So we had a contract with DHL Express where we delivered 12% of their volume in the United States, and all of it was in the southeastern United States. So if I were going into your business, knowing what I know about the Atlanta market and how wigs sell in Atlanta, I would target that area. And I'd be happy to speak to you offline. You know, you can have everyone on this call can have my contact information. I don't need to be compensated for any, you know, assistance that I may be able to give you. So, you know, reach out to me via email, and I will be happy to lend as much a hand as I could with regards to that shipping piece, or any other questions you might have for me. But I would target certain areas in the country and concentrate on them. I mean, you're not limited by, you know, you don't have to drive there, you don't have to fly there, right? It's something that we have. I mean, it's a luxury nowadays to be able to work from your house and reach anybody in the world.
Thank you. I will reach out.
Thank you.
So thank you, Cheryl. Stacy actually had an appointment and had to chop off. I wasn't thinking, I knew that she had an appointment, but I wanted to bring her on camera quickly to let you know that Stacy is actually an amazing sales consultant, and she has this ability to help people find money in their existing businesses and helping them with their trade lines. And she works with logistics folks and people across from, you know, me as a small solopreneur micro business owner who wants to scale up into enterprise 6, 7, 8 figure businesses. Her name is Stacy Hyland. And after this call, what I'll do is I will actually share her contact information, because if you have thoughts about sales, like I said in my emails that went out, Pompey's not here to sell anything, right? Pompey is here to pour into you, and hopefully, you know, you can make connections with him. But if you are looking for sort of a structured relationship around sales and marketing a bit, but really finding money in your business and understanding how to scale, Stacy Hyland is actually excellent for that as well. Andre said that he is here to, he's always seeking knowledge, and that he wants to hear about, you know, what has made people successful. Do we have any other questions from folks? And Pompey can then talk to Andre's question as well.
I'll speak to Andre's question. You know, earlier on, I had mentioned that when we start as entrepreneurs, we think that there's a place where we're going to be happy, right? We're going to reach this goal, and then that'll be it. And then I can go go to Tahiti and hang out for a few months, right? And I've always, when I was younger, I would think, name the person. We'll talk about Jeff Bezos right now, right? I mean, does this guy really have to work? No, he does it because he's an entrepreneur. He does it because the challenges, he's been able to solve these many challenges, and he wants more challenges to solve. Okay. So I think successful is a word that I have warned people throughout the years when they speak to me to please say it in a more silent manner, or don't say it at all. I think that successful is a place that goal moves. Okay, is it financial success? Is it family success? Is it and we're never going to be 100% happy with where we are. I think that that's part of being successful. Okay, in quotes, is not thinking that there is a place where you're going to rest. I think it's an ongoing challenge, an ongoing, I look at myself as a solution seeker is what I call it, okay? So, where else can I find, can I seek more solutions? So the success part comes from being hard-headed, and knowing what I want, okay, but at the same time yielding to my customers' demands. And what I mean by that is, when I first started in business, I thought, okay, this is the road that I'm going to take. And then I found out that you really don't control that road. Your customers' needs control that road.
Thank you. And that concept of an entrepreneur and selling things. And so Cheryl's working with someone who sells hair extensions, but really what she's probably selling is a sense of beauty or a sense of esteem. I don't know what Pompey sells, but I know, I'll let him tell you what he sells. It's not logistics. Right. And he kind of touched upon it with the 15%, and we can save you this. What does that look like? I know for me, with Her Power Space and Her Power Moves, I sell community and resources to women solopreneurs and side hustlers. That is what I sell. I sell community and resources. That is not the brick and mortar. It's the community. And so a lot of times I think when we think about what we're selling, we almost limit ourselves. And if we just take a step back and say, hey, I'm actually selling confidence, or I'm actually selling convenience, I'm actually selling happiness. What does that look like? And then reverse engineer into how you talk about that from a marketing and then sales leads to conversion and closing perspective. Do you have thoughts on that?
No, I mean, I agree with you 100%. I don't think I can add anything to that, Michelle.
And if we have any other questions, Andre said he enjoyed that answer. Thank you, Andre. If we have any other questions, one of the things that I think I find with your ability to talk about this grind and talk about optimism in this balancing way, how do you impact your potential customers or your potential sales folks with that energy? Or do you just seek it out already? And that's kind of going back to hiring for shrinks.
One of the strategies that I use, and this may or may not answer your question, it may answer part of it. One of the strategies that I use, especially with those potential customers that tell me they're very happy with the service or product that they're using, you have to humble yourself, and you have to think long term, in my estimation, and you have to come up with something that may have some meaning for them, such as, listen, I'm not here. I don't for one second pretend to be here and to grab all your business away from that particular company that you're using. Okay. However, if you do have a pain point, if for some, in my case, let's say, if you're having problems with FedEx bringing in the shipments from Thailand, which I know that that's a weakness from FedEx. And so if I run into a customer, which I did last week, and I say, listen, it's just that one shipment, or that, just let me prove myself somewhere along the way. And if it's not today, you know, allow me the opportunity to at least look into part of your business a week, a month, 6 months from now, so that I may be able to solve that one little problem that you had. Continue to use FedEx for everything else. And that's how I find I am able to get my foot in the door, and then you grow the relationship from there.
That's a great answer. That's a really great answer. And kind of to piggyback on the enterprise versus smaller businesses, Lynn asks, I'm trying to educate myself in business skill as well as the entrepreneurial business side. Feeling a bit overwhelmed, but want to be ready for when my business really takes off. How do I know when I'm doing too much? Is there such a thing as doing too much at one time? I am the queen of doing too much, but I'm gonna let Pompey answer this first because he knows I am the queen of doing too much.
I'm going to answer it this way. I don't think there is doing too much. I think that what a lot of us, this is, again, my own personal opinion. I think what a lot of us are enamored by is multitasking, okay? And I don't believe in it. I don't believe that you can multitask and do it all well. And I think that we fall in love with this mirage, to me, that we're able to do so many things at one time. And some of us even brag about it. And I just think that in order not to be overwhelmed, as you start a particular task, you finish it, and then you move on to the next one. Rather than, you know, I've seen leaders of company have, and I've witnessed this on a few occasions, have the accounting department, the shipping department, the manufacturing and procurement department all in at one time, having meetings. And what they're doing is having 4 different meetings, okay? So, you know, yeah, I don't think you can do too much. I think depending on your age and your energy level, you can really spend a lot of time away from your pillow. But I do think that the key, in my case, is not to multitask, which is contrary to what many of us think we can do.
I'm going to push back on that. I know you're shocked. Look, let's be real. A lot of us are chief cook, bottle washer, hostess, you know, salesperson, running the ads, cleaning the toilets. That is the reality. The real question, I think, to underline that is, how do you prioritize what matters most? And I know what he's going to answer, but realistically, you have operations and sales and you're one person. How do you prioritize what you do first?
I think what you're talking about is, and I hear your pushback. I think what you're talking about is putting out fires, okay? And I think that's what causes all that multitask.
Say more about that.
Well, I mean, when I think it's very important, discipline, right? I think it's very important to stupid old saying, plan your day and then work that plan, right? If you show up, the most successful businessman I've ever worked for was a gentleman by the name of David Sassoon, okay? And this was 1972, Fifth Avenue, New York City, ICC Industries, multinational, multi-billion-dollar company, not trading in non-ferrous metals. That's what we did. And he taught me when I was 21, 22 years old. He never wanted to see me leave the office without all the things I needed to do the next day. And then he would take the top 5 to 7 things that I've written down in priority for that next day. And he'd say, before you get to the other 13, these are the 5 or 7 that you have to work on. don't let anything distract you from this. Otherwise, I think you end up putting out fires all day and not really getting accomplished what you want to get accomplished.
Right, that proactive versus reactive mode, right? And so the goal is to plan, to set aside that time, to be really vigilant and protect and set boundaries, which is honestly not always easy to do. But if we get up every day and give it our best shot, we'll probably do better than not giving it a shot at all. I mean, I found that to be my reality as well. Again, if you have questions, please, please, please drop them in the chat or raise your hand. We'd love to hear your voice. I know that Pompey has to wrap up in a little while to head on to other activities and duties. And I think this is a great segue question. How do you make time then to do things like mentor people and do some of the things that you like to do? You're so daggone busy.
The exception of this morning, I follow my calendar. That's an inside joke because we're, again, none of us is perfect. So I made a mistake this morning. I wake up every morning, and even before I go to the gym, I look at my calendar and see what I need to do, right? And I don't look at it the night before on purpose because I don't want to think about those things overnight. But I do look at it 4 o'clock in the morning. I wake up, that's the first thing that I do. And this morning I failed and I drove 30 miles south from Fort Lauderdale to Miami, sitting at my office, and I get a text from Michelle. I'm running 5 minutes late. I'll be right there. And so that forced me to run back up to Fort Lauderdale where I just came from. Now, how do I find time? By sticking to that schedule. I mean, I suppose I could have said to you, Michelle, well, it doesn't start till 10:30. I'll show up at 10:15 and go from there. But I made a commitment to you. I said I was going to be here at 9. I drove down to Miami. I had to drive back to Fort Lauderdale. I didn't get here till 9:25, which I feel awful about. But that's I guess how I do it, And then the other thing is I don't allow people, even family members, to disturb my day unless it's an emergency. You have to be really explicit with the people that you love and let them know that, listen, I'm here for you if it's an emergency, but I've got things to do during the day. And when I get home tonight, I'm all yours. Okay. So that's the way I do it, just discipline.
And, speaking as a woman, and we deal with that sort of those invisible responsibilities and those invisible tasks a lot more than men do. So there are conversations to be had about the people even outside of our business, but who are in our sphere and can impact how we show up in our businesses. So it's really important. If that time is sacrosanct, then that's what it is. And we have to prioritize it, or else we will not move the needle on our priorities. Again, please feel free to raise your hands. I mean, obviously, I love talking to Pompey and getting information from him, but I have unfettered access to him. I would love if you have additional questions to raise your hand or drop them in the chat as well. And let us know where you are in your entrepreneurial journey. Are you pre-revenue? Have you made any money in your business? Where are you along your journey? We'd love to hear that as well as we sort of begin to wrap up. From your perspective, going back to that mutually beneficial ethical relationship development, how do you see yourself as a mentee? Do you have mentors now? And what does that look like from the mentee perspective? What should folks be looking for in a mentor from your perspective?
Well, at my age, most individuals who will be my mentors have probably passed on.
But you're making it.
No,
Okay,
I'm answering your problem.
I gotta stop him for a second, because the reality is that actually he's looking at it from age, which I always teach. Anyone can be your mentor. I mentor him. Let's be real. I mentor him too, right?
That's very true. That's very true. But I'll tell you what I've done. I have, because I did have that thirst for a mentor. So I went out and recruited advisory boards, right? So they're very expensive. I think mine is somewhere in the neighborhood of $5,000 a year, my membership there. But rather than having one mentor, I probably have 25 of them. This one particular Vistage is their name, this one particular organization that I belong to. We have monthly meetings where there's, typically a dozen business owners, and when we sit around and we talk about all the challenges that we have, how do we overcome them? And then we have speakers that come in and give us a pulse of the business world. So that's my mentoring. That's how I fill my mentoring needs.
So I love that Pompey mentioned paying for mentorship, right? Because that is one of the think outside the box ideas that I share with people who are seeking mentors and masterminds, right? So he's leaning more toward a mastermind by having this collective of people with varying degrees of business levels and life experience who can focus their energy specifically on a challenge that he brings to the table and creates a mastermind, one big mind to deal with this specific and discrete challenge. And that is the beauty of a mastermind. And if you don't have that, or you don't see folks around you, for women, I would say, please come to Her Power Moves and join our journey and the programming that we put together. But also then look outside of that to see where are opportunities for me to join mentor programs, mentor makers, SCORE, programs that paid or free, to begin to get access to more people. And because I showed up at that Tower Club event, right, then I met Pompey, and the rest was history. I went there specifically with intention of connecting with as many people as I could who I thought I could add value to. And I walked away with probably the best prize in the room, but don't tell them I said that.
Thank you, Michelle. It's been a pleasure. As I said earlier on, if any one of you would like to email me, Michelle's got the green light to go ahead and provide my information. Any way that I can assist, please let me know. It's been a pleasure. It's been a great experience for me, and I thank you for your attention during this time.
So he's going to head out. Folks are saying thank you, they will connect. For those of you who are still here, I would love to extend an invitation to you. I hope this was helpful. If this was helpful to you, please drop that in the chat because we'd love that feedback. And also every month on the second Wednesday of the month, I host similar chats in my community called the Unchamber. We are the opposite of what you may think are your typical chambers of commerce model, where we bring in amazing folks to teach, to talk to you. You can interact with them live. We have 2 meetings per month on the second Wednesday of the month, one at 1 p.m. Eastern, the other at 6 p.m. Eastern. And I will drop that link in the chat to you so that you can check it out and sign up. And the cost is only $20 per month for that access. And you also get to connect with other business people, as well as have access to the library of all of the chats and fireside chats and meetings and folks who have presented in the past. If this was helpful to you, please be sure to share the information. You will receive a replay of this. Again, my name is Michelle Talbert. I am the founder of Her Power Moves and Her Power Space, co-working space, located here in Broward. And I thank you all for giving your time and attention to us today. I look forward to seeing you around the Unchamber. And if you have any questions, please let me know. Yes, everybody will receive Pompey's email in the replay from the folks as long as you clicked on the RSVP to let us know that you were coming. You will receive a replay of this. Yes, everybody will get Pompey's email information so long as when you received an email from me that said, yes, I will attend, you clicked on yes, I will attend. So it's important, if you didn't do that before coming today, that you go back to that email and click on yes, I will attend. so that we can make sure that you get the replay. I will not be sharing Pompey's email broadly with my entire thousands of people list. So it'll be very specific to the folks who were able to join us today or who raised their hand and said they wish they could have been with us today. And again, you can also reach out to me through the Chamber and replying to the emails that you received from me as well. And I look forward to another opportunity to get to know more about you and your businesses. Okay, so I'm going to sign off now. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me at Michelle@michelleYTalbert.com. Thank you.